Hello and welcome to ThePrint. My name is Ananya Bhardwaj and I am a Senior Associate Editor with ThePrint. With me today is Bismee Taskin, my colleague, and both of us will be discussing about the Northeast Delhi riot. Now, it has been 4 years since the Northeast Delhi riots broke out in Delhi, claiming 53 lives and several others were injured. 4 years have passed and several cases were registered in the matter. Having covered the riots from the ground, it still gives me goosebumps when I think of a crowd that was running amok with lathis, rods, petrol bombs, setting shops on fire, vandalizing property, and even damaging and desecrating places of worship. And all this while the police stood there as mute spectators. Now, 4 years have passed since all this happened. Several cases, almost 750 cases were registered by the district police, crime branch, and a larger conspiracy case was also registered by special cell. But what has happened to those cases? Have the lives of those people who were affected has gone back to normal? What about those who were arrested? Was the investigation carried out by the police fair enough? So Bismee has done an excellent series on answering all these questions that I've just raised, and today in this video we will be discussing several of these questions related to the Northeast Delhi riots. First, starting with the cases that were registered, how many of them were actually solved, what did the court say, how many of them have actually been charge sheeted, what is the status of those cases, and many other things. So welcome to ThePrint, Bismee.
Thank you, Ananya.
You have done an excellent series and on the riots, and also done a lot of case studies and culled out excellent data on the Northeast Delhi riots. If you could just give our viewers a brief on the status of those cases and what has really happened. Have they reached trial? How many acquittals have happened? Because as far as I recalled, almost more than 750 cases were registered following these communal clashes.
That's absolutely right, Ananya. A total of, as of this year, a total of 757 cases have been registered by the Delhi police. Now, there's a division in these cases between the Northeast District Police and the crime branch and the special cell. Like you mentioned, there was this larger conspiracy case that is being investigated by the special cell. That case still hasn't gone for trial, but we'll come to that in a bit. Coming back to the other cases with the Northeast District Police, there's some 693 cases with the district police. 63 cases were transferred to the crime branch, out of which one case was cancelled. This particular case, that is FIR 77/2020, was registered after 4 Muslim men were found dead in Bridgepuri and in and around areas on the 25th of February. That is the period when the riots were at its peak. That it started from 23rd February, continued till 25th, and then there are other incidents of rioting, arson, murders, dead bodies being flushed out of gutters. All of those cases were registered. As far as investigations are concerned, courts have repeatedly pulled up the Delhi police in terms of, calling it a shoddy probe or callous investigation, and also to the heights of, calling them out for erroneous charge sheets.
Right.
Now, as I was going through multiple charge sheets, orders and cases, and speaking to legal experts, defense counsels, what we have come to know is that there's also a problem of hostile witnesses, where the police have claimed that this particular witness is an eyewitness to these murders, but the witness has gone to court and backed out, or rather given a different statement in contradiction to the statement given under 161 CRPC to the police.
I'll just interrupt you here. Could you tell us that how many cases were there that were registered in connection with the Northeast Delhi riots, and in those cases how many people were arrested and how many have been actually acquitted and discharged, and then we will come to the reasons as to why that happened.
So a total of 183 acquittals and 75 discharges have taken place so far. Of the total 183 acquittals, all of them are in cases that are registered and are being investigated by the Northeast District Police. Discharges are spread across, but however, we cannot say that these many people have been acquitted or discharged, because one particular person or one particular suspect still continues to face the judicial process due to the n number of cases registered against him.
And if you could tell us, what have the courts really told Delhi police in all these acquittals? Because from what I know, that the orders have been quite harsh. They have been, the Delhi police have been told that you have not done your work properly. In many cases, the investigation is so shoddy that, that the statements are very identical of all those people. The people who were arrested were not even at the spot. So if you could just tell our viewers a little about how these arrests were done and what have the courts really told the Delhi police about their investigation.
Right. So, courts have repeatedly pulled up the Delhi police, in terms of how this investigation has been a mess, how the judicial process is getting lengthier, prolonged, and investigations are pending in multiple cases.
Right.
Now, even with the cases where charge sheets were filed and the court had taken cognizance and charges were framed, even during the trial, a lot of these people are getting acquitted, and the courts have repeatedly called the Delhi police out, saying that your witnesses are turning hostile, there are discrepancies in your charge sheet, you have claimed something else, but your charge sheet says something else,
right.
The timing of incidents do not match, it appears like you have made random arrests and put down random numbers in your log sheets while making these arrests. Like for instance, if somebody has died at 6 a.m. in the morning, they have log sheeted it as 6:30 p.m. along with another case. Now, another very important thing that the courts have repeatedly pulled the Delhi police out is the clubbing of FIRs. With rioting and arson, in most cases the Delhi police also club together murder cases and also the destruction of public property, including vandalizing of religious places of worship. So, all that has been going on in the court since the last 4 years.
Okay. So, if coming to the cases of murder, because those are also very serious charges, right? From what we know from your series only, that lot of these cases, most of these cases of murder went to the crime branch, around I think 62 to 63 cases. So, what has happened to those cases? Also, just tell us that among these 750 odd FIRs that were registered in total, what is the charge sheet rate?
So, coming to the crime branch cases, like I said at the beginning of our conversation, one case is cancelled, so that leaves us with 62. Now, not almost, all the cases, murder cases,
right.
Of all the 53 people who lost their lives during the riots were transferred to the crime branch, out of which 14 cases continue to remain unsolved. This 14 number is different from the acquittals and the discharges that have been that have taken place in quote unquote solved murder cases that have seen the light of the day or gone through the judicial process. So, data that ThePrint had exclusively accessed says that out of the 693 cases with the Northeast District Police, 368 cases have been charge sheeted. Out of the cases with crime branch, charges have been framed only in 39 cases, which also means that those many cases have only been charge sheeted.
Right.
Out of the one case with the special cell, the larger conspiracy case, the 5 charge sheets, including the main charge sheet, have so far been filed.
So, when you say that these many cases have been charge sheeted, like out of 700, say only 45% have been charge sheeted, rest have not been charge sheeted. For our viewers, if you could explain briefly as to what is the relevance of a case being charge sheeted?
Right.
Why does a case have to be charge sheeted, and if not, then what is lacking?
Right. So, a charge sheet is filed after investigation is completed or investigation has reached one of its final stages. The investigation continues even after the first charge sheet is filed, but for the investigating agency to file a charge sheet requires concrete and hardcore evidence.
Right.
Now, when I say concrete and hardcore evidence, it has to include not just disclosure statements from the suspects or the accused, but also other evidence such as forensics,
right.
such as evidence that has been collected from the spot of the crime, CCTV footage, forensic analysis of mobile phones, of either blood-stained clothes, or if there has been any sort of arson or rioting, then residue, so that it establishes its case. Charge sheeting is important for the prosecution because it establishes the first level, the first foundation of their case.
Right. So, that means that, in so many cases, even that step has not been achieved.
Right.
And from what I recall when I was covering the case is also that when these arrests were being made, they kept saying that they are using best technology, facial recognition system and, forensics, etc. and they have like concrete evidence to show that these people, whoever have been arrested fairly, and they have sufficient evidence against most. Because during that time there was also an allegation that people are unfairly being picked up from northeast Delhi, and one particular community is being targeted. So they had come in to their defense, saying that the number of arrests from both communities are almost same, and we have sufficient evidence against each. So anyway, so now we are seeing in courts how these cases are falling, and in fact when Rakesh Asthana, who was the former police chief, when he had come, he had taken over, he had also started special units in different police stations in northeast to actually look into these cases that are falling in the court, and to basically start a review as to reinvestigate those cases, because there was a lot of flack that they were facing. And now we can see that with so many acquittals like you reported, how strong the investigation was. So now, is the Delhi police planning to say appeal in the higher court regarding these acquittals? What is the status of that?
So the Delhi police has filed certain appeals in the court. However, in most cases that has not been done, because especially starting last year, a lot of acquittal orders have come out. Most of these people, in fact 90% of the people, over 2000 were arrested, are on bail. Now coming back to the point where you mentioned that the Delhi police had claimed that these arrests have been done very scientifically on the basis of other forms of evidence like footage. There's an interesting I would like to mention one interesting case study where one person had stepped out of his house to see that there has been rioting and a shop has been burnt. That is the footage that the Delhi police arrested him on, the basis of which he was arrested. He was also arrested after another accused identified him. He was seen on the CCTV footage at a particular date. A month later, another accused was brought in to identify him. So the court also noticed that if you knew that this person was seen in the CCTV footage, why would you give this time gap to go and arrest him? Now when the Print spoke to him, that particular person who was acquitted in that case, he said that he stepped out to see because that particular shop was 200 meters away.
Right. Now let's come to the mother case of this entire investigation. That's the criminal conspiracy case, in which all these activists have been in fact arrested. Most of them are still in jail, including Umar Khalid. And this case, in fact, when the charge sheet was filed, I remember going through that charge sheet, and it basically alleged that these activists actually knew that a riot could happen, could take place if they do a logjam, and that's how they have booked them in conspiracy and Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, because of which they have not been able to come out of jail in the last 4 years. So if you could tell us briefly about what this larger conspiracy case is, which is being investigated by Special Cell, and how many accused are there. Also, what is the case about and what is the status?
Right. So on 6th March 2020, the Delhi police lodged this particular FIR 59 2020, accusing and alleging that Umar Khalid and his associates were part of this entire larger conspiracy, that it was a pre-planned conspiracy and they had all come together for the riots. Now,
so basically they said that these guys engineered the riots.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
So a total of 21 accused have been arrested so far in the case. And 12 continue to languish in jail as we speak. 9 people are out on bail. When I say 12 people are still in jail, that includes people like Sarjil Imam, Umar Khalid. Now, Asif Iqbal Tanha, Devangana Kalita and Natasha, who were the Pinjrat Road activists, they had managed to secure bail in 2021.
Right.
However, that bail order could never be used by the other accused to on grounds of parity. Now, that particular case, the Delhi Police Special Cell has filed some 25,000 pages of charge sheet. The first charge sheet, the main charge sheet in itself, is over 17,500 pages, which should tell us about the amount of pages and how voluminous it is for the defense counsels and for the accused. Now, Ananya, interestingly, to get a hard copy of the first charge sheet, the accused and their counsels had to run back and forth from the Karkarduma court, and they finally got it only after 9 months.
Okay.
In the middle,
This is the first charge sheet.
this is the first charge sheet, the main charge sheet, right? Till last year, 4 other charge sheets were filed. Now, I'll just explain so that the viewers understand what happens after a charge sheet is filed.
Yeah.
The charge sheet is filed, the court has taken cognizance once the police file it in front of the court. Now, after that is filed, there's a process under 207 of the CRPC, which means supplying of documents.
Yeah.
There's been a tussle between the defense counsels and the accused and the investigating agency, that is the Delhi police, over supplying of these documents. Now, the Delhi police in a lot of the cases contested that we are not obligated to supply you this particular document because this is not a part of the charge sheet. Now, when I say not a part of the charge sheet, it doesn't mean have to be a piece of paper in the charge sheet. It can be anything that has been referred to in a charge sheet. It can be anything, parts of which, like a WhatsApp group, parts of the extracts of a chat.
Yeah.
It can be certain CCTV footages. Now, additional sessions judge Amitav Rawat had twice said that the 207, the scrutiny of documents, has been completed last year. Once in April, excluding Devangana Kalita after her counsel moved an application for requirement of some other footage in WhatsApp chats. Then in August, he said that it is over for all the accused and that the matter should go for, arguments of charge and then for trial. It didn't go to. While the court was all set to conduct day-to-day hearings, what happened was a couple of the counsels, including Miran Haider, Asif Iqbal Tanha, Devangana and Natasha's counsels, had moved the application that Delhi police continues to assert that the investigation is still pending. Now, what do defense counsels do? Under UAPA, we understand that bail anyway is extremely difficult.
Right.
Jail here in these cases becomes a rule and bail becomes an exception,
yeah.
unlike other crimes under
Yeah.
the IPC or
Yeah.
other SLL crimes. They said that tomorrow when I bring my best foot forward and I put out my defense, the Delhi police or the investigating agency can come up with some protected witness that can spoil my case because they have been filing charge sheets after charge sheets and my client is not getting bail. Now, that hearing is continuing in the court, in the Karkarduma court. In between, Judge Amitav Rawat also got transferred. Now, the new judge, Sameer Bajpai, is listening to this for deferring of charge. There's been another, there are also other applications being filed in the High Court by various counsels. Devangana Kalita's counsel has also filed multiple pleas under 207 asking for WhatsApp chats and CCTV footage of the riots, which the Delhi police continues to resist. Now, they had to move to the High Court after the lower court refused to accept their application. So, even though it's been 4 years since the riots, even as 12 people including student activists like Umar Khalid continue to be in jail, this matter has not gone to the stage of arguments of charge.
Also, what about their role? I mean, just give us like a brief on what did they really do? What does the charge sheet say about the conspiracy that they have been stressing on?
Right. So, the Delhi police in these over 7,000 pages of charge sheet, which you and I and a lot of other legal and crime reporters have read, have said that all of these people came together, discussed through WhatsApp groups, through, attending various protest sites at Shaheen Bagh and other places. They built up and hatched this entire plan to let these riots take place, or rather orchestrate these riots in the national capital. If you remember, Ananya, that was a time when Donald Trump, the then president of the United States, was set to visit, and they have connected all of these things that these guys came together and wanted to malign India's image, one. Two, they orchestrated all of this so that the CAA, the Citizenship Amendment Act, doesn't come into play. At the time, it was a bill. The NRC doesn't happen, and that they did all of these things in the garb of, forcing and luring and manipulating the common public.
Right. So that's what they have been stressing in the charge sheet every now and then, that the conspiracy was to bring people together at that point when Trump was visiting and
to mobilize the crowd.
To mobilize the crowd in the garb of protesting against the CAA, but actually the goal was to engineer these riots, because they are also quoting some WhatsApp chats in which these guys are discussing. I mean, this is what the police have claimed, that they are discussing that what we are doing might lead to a communal clash. And despite knowing that this might lead to a communal clash, they still went ahead with these protests and organized them in different places, including a place in now northeast Delhi, which was crucial because it had Hindus on one side and Muslims on the other. And that is what they have highlighted in the charge sheet all throughout, that this is just because they knew that this might lead to a clash, a communal riot, and they still went ahead with it, which means that it was a conspiracy, they knew about it, and that is why it happened. So that's why. Also, Bismee, another interesting thing which the police had told us earlier also, and you might have reported it as well, that this was one of its kind, this Northeast Delhi riots, because it involved a lot of arms. This was one riot which involved a lot of arms. Could you tell our viewers something about that?
So, Ananya, the Delhi police continues to claim that they had, planned with all the arms and ammunition. But you have seen, I have seen, during riots, during communal violence, we have seen in Khargone, Karoli, or in any other disturbed places like in Manipur. Contrary to the Delhi police that said like people collected it only in this one-of-a-kind riot, this is what we have seen predominantly as a pattern in all riots. Riots basically take place when there is something that is already boiling and then it just blasts. Sometimes it's contained and sometimes it's not, like we have seen in the Northeast Delhi riots. They said a lot of the weapons came by. Those weapons are actually not sophisticated pistols. They are kattas that are very readily and easily available and not just in Northeast Delhi, in other parts of Delhi, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, anywhere it's readily available. More than gunshots that were fired, in terms of weaponry, it was rods, sticks and swords, which are also extremely readily available.
Right.
And Northeast, we have to understand the demography of Northeast Delhi. There are some places like Gokulpuri that have a higher Hindu population. Then there are other places like Seelampur, Mustafabad that have a predominant Muslim population. So it is not as if Northeast Delhi wasn't polarized, wasn't suffering from this division of Hindu-Muslim binary.
So the undercurrent was there.
The undercurrent was obviously present and it still is. Now that when I've revisited it, when I went back on the ground in 2021, when I went back on the ground this year, it continues to linger.
Yeah, that was my next question to you. What is the sense on the ground now?
Right. So, I recently went to the ground a couple of times to, meet these people who have been discharged and acquitted. And like I was mentioning to you about this guy who got arrested when he went out to see this shop. The register he still uses is from that particular shop that was burned down and he was an accused, Chawla Book Center. We'll be adding the link of all the stories we have reported upon in the description for our viewers to refer them to. So when I asked the owner at Chawla bookstore that, you are selling them registers even now, like how do you think the dynamics have changed? He told me that, the bhaichara used to be there. There used to be this brotherhood. But there also used to be this division. Now, after the riots, because people have lost their family members, property, they have lost their, sources of livelihood, they say that we cannot go back to it. The undercurrent is stronger than it was before the riots because everybody there in Northeast Delhi, in the most affected areas of Jafrabad, Usmanpur, New Mustafabad, Old Mustafabad, Seelampur, they are still dealing with the aftermath of the violence because there are sons who have been killed, there are fathers who have been killed, there are sons and fathers who continue to be in jail and both sides continue to blame each other. And people were also mentioning about how during the Pran Pratishtha ceremony and the week before that, the flags for the inauguration of the Grand Ram Mandir in Ayodhya had taken place, flags were put up and then both sides could feel the tension lurking again.
Right. So 4 years have passed. So many cases were filed, almost more than 750, in which after 4 years we have seen more than 180 acquittals, 75 discharges. So many cases have not yet been charge sheeted. The courts every now and then pulls up Delhi police for shoddy investigation. On the ground, the tension is still palpable. So many people are still coming to terms with what they had lost 4 years ago. So to read about these stories that Bismee has done extensively from the ground and by accessing exclusive data, please log on to theprint.in. We will be also sharing the links of the 4-part series that she has done on the screen. Please go through them. Thank you so much for joining us, Bismee. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching.